Hi everyone, I'm Richika Bindra, and this week on #NoFilter, we are talking about the LGBT community and as a teen, how you can go about coming out if that's what you really need and finding your true identity. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of #NoFilter. With me today is our teen panelists. We have Vern, Olivia, and Cassandra. Hi guys.
Hi.
And I'm very, very excited. For someone who wanted to get into journalism and hosting, I have with me somebody that's been a huge, huge inspiration for me to enter the Canadian media landscape. He is a fabulous media personality. He's interviewed some of the biggest names in the business, from Hollywood to Bollywood. I'd like to introduce Daniel Pillai.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. So it's a little bit of a serious topic at the same time because we've just had the Orlando shootings that have happened.
Yes.
And I'd like to make a focus and just take a second to say that my heart goes out, I think, for all of us to every single victim in the entire city and the entire community, I think, in general, because there's so much question going on around it. So a lot of teens tweeted us that they wanted this topic to be discussed. The LGBTQ community, some people say the LGBT community has gone, as long as no one's going to be upset with us, we're good. It's gone through a huge evolution where we think people are able to talk more about it, but then things like this happen and we're like, okay, where are we going back? So for someone like you, what has your journey been as a teen entering into this space and finding who you truly are?
That's a loaded question.
I know.
I think, if anything, I've found myself throughout all of this. You know,
that's amazing.
I actually told my mom I was gay in 2010, so I'm 6 years old, really.
Okay.
But I think it's been a journey of self-expression. I think I'm more comfortable than I have ever been in my life right now, and it continues to be a journey. I think for anybody who goes through a struggle with your sexual identity, it doesn't just stop when you tell your family you're gay. It continues. It goes on for the rest of your life, and it really is a journey that kind of defines who you are in very beautiful ways, and sometimes it's a struggle as well.
And for you, when you wanted to enter the media sort of space, you knew you were going to be in the public eye. Was that something that concerned you? Were you like, oh, now I'm going to be more open to being judged because of my identity? Or were you like, this is who I am, and you were confident?
I was so scared.
Okay.
Because I was being brought on to do a gossip segment, and it was being pitched to me like, oh, you're going to be Bollywood's Perez Hilton. And at that time, Perez Hilton didn't really have a good profile, you know. He was being called a bully. He was being told he was being very mean and negative. So I actually declined the opportunity the very first time. But then, you know, Veronica Chill, she convinced me to kind of come back and be amazing. And I found my voice. And I had told my mom I was gay 2 years prior. So I had a bit of an adjustment.
Was it in your teen years, Daniel, that you kind of...
I was 25 years old.
Okay, so you went through your entire
I just gave away my age, but
That's
I was
okay.
25 years old.
He just turned 30. Happy 30th, Daniel.
I'm 31, actually.
But I know, I just wanted you to feel a little bit younger. But it's okay. You can be 31. That's fine.
Yes.
So you told your mom much later than most teens today want to, and that's what a lot of teens tweeted. Some of them said, you know, it's anonymous to them, but some of them said, how do I go about it? How do I go about kind of having this conversation and not having my immediate family kind of judge me? And they weren't so much concerned, and the funny thing about it to me is they weren't concerned about their parents, because they were like, no, my parents are going to love me regardless. They were more concerned that their parents would have to answer questions that were challenging to, I guess, the society around them. So for teens, or how did you go about your teenagers? Because at that point, did you know? Did you tell like anybody?
I was a very different person.
Okay.
I was very quiet. I didn't really, you see all of this fabulousness that's here right now. I was very quiet. I didn't really speak to anybody. I kept a very small group of friends, and so I was a very different person because I was ashamed to be who I was because I didn't feel comfortable talking to my parents about it. But that's because I grew up in a very conservative South Asian household, and being gay wasn't accepted. You were told it was wrong. I was bullied about it growing up in my family and by friends. So I think that culture has a lot to do with it. When you're growing up, especially when your parents are there to kind of guide you and support you and show you what life is all about, their culture plays into their ideas and how they raise you and the values they're going to instill in you. So it is cultural, and it is about your parents as much as it is answering uncomfortable questions.
Did you tell at that point at least like your best friend, or did you have a sibling? Like, who did you confide in? No one. You were like, I'm not ready.
I will be honest with you. I think the day when I told my mother I was gay, I knew maybe like 4 hours earlier. I kind of admitted it to myself. And I think it's this question you ask yourself all the time, and until you say, yes, I'm gay, you're never going to fully accept it and say, this is who I am. So I literally knew like the day before. I just woke up one morning. I was like, oh my God, I'm gay, and I'm gonna tell mom. And it was just a moment. It was just a moment, and it was. But coming to that moment, it was 25 years though.
But I think it was a huge life-changing moment because I think it must have been a sign of relief for you because it was sort of built up inside in different ways. Maybe you didn't realize it. And I think when you hit it, it was like, now you can live.
You know what? I felt like I had wings.
Yep.
You know, it really did. But I've had a lot of uncomfortable conversations with my mom since then. And especially with the shootings in Orlando this Sunday. Though that discomfort has kind of come right back up.
Of course, and that's natural for her, right?
It's in and out, it really is. But I feel 100% me. And that's a beautiful thing.
And that's what we want. You know, the reason we did this, based on not only the shootings, but on this idea, is that I want people, regardless of what their gender is versus their sexual identity, I want them to feel comfortable in whoever they are. And I want them to be in that space because I think we've come so far in life as a culture and as a generation that if we can't be comfortable in who we are, then to me, that's like a problem on a human level.
Absolutely.
We have a huge problem. So I'm going to ask you guys, because it's been a few years, even though I'm young, that I've been in high school and in the teenage years. What's it like now? Is it still the same? Because I know when I went to school, one of my best friends was a lesbian, and I was the first person she had said it to. And we were 14 years old, and she said, I don't know how to say this to anybody. And she was from an Orthodox Christian family, and, you know, that's not something that she felt she could, you know, kind of talk about. And she said, I'm telling this to you, don't judge me. And I remember we both cried because she was so nervous and she was shaking. And she was scared that she was going to be bullied all throughout school, so she didn't tell anybody. You know, she pretended to go on dates, and it was kind of like, you know, she wanted to fit in. How is it now? How is the school culture now? I want to know.
They're definitely more accepting than that, but it definitely has that same thing where they're very nervous to come out and tell people, right? But yeah, we've definitely moved forward a lot because there are a few kids in my grade who are transgender or they're gay or lesbian, but they're very open about it, and I think once you see one person come out and the way the community reacts, and if they're accepting you, then more and more people will be comfortable with who they are.
Is it the same for you guys? Have you experienced no issues with that?
Right, like, yeah, I've also had friends that are gay, and so the way that they kind of deal with this is that they initially tell their parents, then they tell their friends, but I guess when you surround yourself with the right kind of people and they're accepting of that, then the person who is, you know, confused with their sexual identity, they feel like it's okay and that their friends are accepting and that you know, that they can talk to anyone at any time. Because
they have a support sort of in the back now that's there, right? So if you feel like you can kind of go ahead with who you are. I have a question, Daniel. A lot of people get confused with their gender and their sexual identity. So can you explain that in basic ways to our teens? So I just want to dumb it down for them.
So there really isn't a basic term because one of the things about the community is that it's a lot of our identity is not just based on the stigma or the stereotypes or the ideals that are imposed on us. It's how we feel.
Hold that thought, Daniel. We're going to look at into this in more detail on the other side of the break. Hi everyone, welcome back. On the other side of the break, we were talking on a very important issue, which I hope Daniel can try to simplify for me, so I won't trouble you too much. Gender and sexuality. A lot of people, I guess people that don't necessarily have the knowledge on it or want to get the knowledge on it, ask these kinds of questions. Can you simplify it for me? What is the difference and what could it mean in this situation?
You know, it's a loaded question, but I mean, I can go by my experience. I mean, gender is, as we know, the gender you're assigned to at birth. And many people transition through that and they change genders depending on how they identify. Sexuality is who you're sexually attracted to, but they can mix. You know, it really, I think the most important thing to realize about the community is that it's how we feel. It's who we believe we are. We change on a daily basis. You know, who I am today, I may not feel like that. I may feel like someone else in 10 years from now. And it's about acknowledging that change, that transition, and that fluidity in your identity. You're constantly negotiating.
And it's okay to feel the different changes,
yes, absolutely. You can be so many different things, and I'll use myself as an example. Like, when I woke up this morning, I felt like a Bollywood actress.
Oh my God, which one?
I often do on windy days. So my favorite is Madhuri Dixit. You know, I felt like the hair was blowing through my wind and stuff. But you know what? that's just a part of me that I'm acknowledging when I say that, you know? So I think I can identify with being a woman sometimes, and I can definitely identify with being a man, and that's my identity, that's my experience. And there's not much gender or sexuality in there. It's unique to me.
It's you, how you're feeling inside.
Yeah,
It's on a
exactly.
deeper level, right?
Yeah.
And what about people that say, I'm in transition? So when you meet someone sometimes and they go, I'm in transition, does it have to necessarily mean that they're doing something to their body, or can it be a transition within them? Like, I always get confused with that question.
You know, it's, again, a very individual experience, but I know a lot of people who are going through a transition in their social identity, where they're transitioning to have others perceive them in a particular way, you know, whether they're changing their name or whether they're changing their hairstyle or whether they want to be acknowledged as a different person altogether. And then there are those individuals who are actually going through the physical changes and the gender reassignment, you know, so you can never really know, because it is a very sensitive issue. You can never go up to somebody and ask them. It's a very personal question. And what I've always done is, because you never know, you know, I have so many friends. So I never know whether to ask those questions or not, so I just accept people as they are.
Which I think is so important as a community message. I think, Daniel, you really hit the nail with that. We should accept people for who they are, regardless of trying to sometimes over-ask and over-pry. If we take people at face value and we take them for genuinely what they're bringing to us in that moment and that vibe and that connection, I think we're hitting a proper, you know, relationship with somebody versus trying to figure out so much more.
Absolutely. And when you do that, you will realize that you actually don't really have any other questions to ask them.
Yeah, and
you've accepted them, and that's all it is, you know? Yeah.
My question for you that I think is a little bit touchy, but at the same time maybe it's not, so tell me if it's too touchy, is that today there's a lot of and it kind of bothers me, but the people say, okay, well, there's counseling available if you're coming out, or there's counseling available if you're not sure. Why are we getting counseled for something like this? What is there to counsel? Because the word counseling to me, like, I know there's a few high schools in the United States that are, you know, saying we can offer counseling when you're not sure who you are to come out. Why are we counseling? The idea of counseling to me is like there's a problem. Why am I associating this with a problem? Why is this notion still there when we've come so far in terms of science and we know that it is an actual change? You are actually born. Hormones actually do change. There are things going on in your brain and mind. You're not just, something's not just wrong with you, you know, where, like, I remember back in the day they thought, oh, something was wrong with this child. Do a prayer, or, you know, I know in Christianity it used to be, you know, there's a demon on them, or in the Hindu culture, my mom's Hindu, you know, it was like, oh, there's a prayer we can do, something's wrong with them. When we've come so far to realize there's science, why do we still have things like counseling?
You know, I remember my parents taking me to a doctor when I was very young, because they're like, oh, he's acting like a girl, we didn't know what to do. So they thought it was something physical. But I think when you use the word counsel, the negative connotation is something we assign to it. You know, I went through counseling just before I had told my mom that I was gay too. But I was going through a lot in my life, and that counseling really kind of helped me navigate the complex thoughts and feelings that I had going on in my head.
So
there was so much noise. How do you filter out all of that and try to realize who you are and what your sexual identity is? It can be very hard. And so I think counseling is a great thing. Now, it depends on the intention of that counseling. If there are parents sending their child for counseling to convince them that they're not gay, then there is a negative connotation to that, I feel. But if certain parents are sending their child to counseling to help them navigate themselves in this very complex world and social media these days, it's positive. So it really is the meaning we give it.
And I guess, exactly what you said. What is the intention of this? What is the purpose that we have behind it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it goes both ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, do you guys have any programs in your school, or is there sort of a community? I know there's clubs formed everywhere. Like when I went to high school, we had like the gay club, and, you know, everybody was there. They would throw events, and I loved it because they were all like my best friends. And they were such party people, and I'm like, you guys are so cool, and like I want to hang out with you all the time. But they're like, okay, you're like coming a little too much. Like, get out of my space. Do you guys have those kind of like camps or clubs, I guess you could say?
We don't have any clubs or anything, but I guess it's just kind of like, because everyone at my school is very open about it. It's not something that you need a club for, like, to, you know, they all have to be together. We never came across that, right? But we do have guidance counselors if you do need to talk to someone about it.
Yeah, my school, they do have an LGBTQ kind of club.
Okay, like a community family.
Yeah, I think it was just last year because the president kind of went to university and stuff, so I don't think they carried it on. And I wasn't even a part of it, but I remember they always had events going on, and they always had like cakes, and they were always celebrating something, whether it be Pride. But yeah, we had stuff like that, and even the bad boys at my school, they accept the LGBT community, which is like
fab.
Yeah, everyone's just so accepting at my school. It's so fun. So yeah.
Daniel, does stereotypes bother you as somebody who's active in the community? For example, I'm going to tell you the most common stereotype. I always go shopping with my gay best friend because he has the best fashion sense. Do you feel like these stereotypes almost irritate the community, or are they like, oh, I'm fine with it?
No, the person who said that is right.
I know they are.
Your gay best friend does know what the latest trends are,
Look
okay?
at what you're wearing.
Exactly. Look at all this bling, okay?
Beautiful.
So I love them. I celebrate them. You know, I think, but that's very individual to me. I think if you choose to see it in a very negative way, then it's your decision. And then those individuals may want to work in trying to negate some of those stereotypes. I celebrate them. If you want me to be your gay best friend, I will be your gay best friend. You want to go shopping, I'll do that too. You want me to wear pink, I will do it. I'm happy to do all those things. And sometimes I think you have to take it with a grain of salt. The person who said that is just celebrating her gay best friend. She's not meaning anything negative by it, you know? And I think if we get caught up too much in language and this meaning, that meaning, is this negative, is this positive, we're losing the sentiment and being in the moment and just taking it for what it is. And I think that's what you have to do.
With the shooting that just happened and everything that's going on in the media, if I could tell you, what is the one thing that you'd like to see really change? Like, with everything that happened, I know you probably had a discussion with your mom again about it. Is there one feeling that you felt, or sort of were you like again, or were you like, you know what, there was another motive? Like, what was the first thing that came to you, honestly?
I was devastated.
Okay.
I was really shaken up by it, and I really didn't know how to feel because I didn't know how it had affected me. I didn't have a personal connection to any of the victims, but they were part of my community, and there was a hate crime put towards them for being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered. I could be at a club with my friend. That could happen to me.
You could have been out at, at a club yesterday.
Yeah, a hate crime is a hate crime. It could happen anywhere. It could happen at any time of the day. And it was quite tragic, but I think at the end of the day, what I want people to know is that you can't live in fear. Okay. We have to go about our day.
On the other side of the break, we're going to talk to Daniel about some tips about communicating with your family. Stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Richika Bindra, and we are talking with media personality Daniel Pillai about the LGBTQ community. Daniel, really quick, I have a question for you. Family communication. So I know you touched on it at the start of our segment. So, you know, in your situation, you woke up, you realized where and how you felt. And was it a few days later you spoke to your mom about it?
I spoke to her. I spoke to my sister the day after, and then I spoke to my mother, I think, that evening.
So for a teen, let's say right now, who's watching and is in the midst of saying, okay, I've realized either I'm, a transgender or I'm, a lesbian or whatever it is, I want to tell my parents my identity.
Yes.
Is there sort of, I know it's odd to say like a process, but what would you recommend from maybe, I guess, you've heard experiences from your friends, you've heard experiences from, I'm sure, people all over the country. What do you recommend for these young teens? Because they're at a vulnerable stage,
Yes,
right?
very vulnerable. And sometimes they go through that stage very, very early on in their life. I think you have to approach the family member you feel the most comfortable with.
Okay, that's good
whether it's your mom, whether it's your dad, a cousin, your grandmother, or your sibling, go to the person you feel the most comfortable with. Because chances are you're going to have the best conversation with them. It will be a productive conversation, and you will probably, it wouldn't be as traumatic as you would probably expect it to be. Yes. And I think having individual conversations is important. To sit down there and speak to all your family members at once could be very overwhelming, especially if you're coming from a very conservative household. So that's the best piece of advice I could give. And then the second is to be patient and be very understanding of your parents. They have grown up, well, my mom and dad, they were in their 50s. They grew up in a very conservative island in Fiji, all these miles away, and they grew up learning about life in one particular manner. I can't have them unlearn that in a 5-minute conversation.
No, you can't.
You can. So I think if you go to the table with that understanding, you can work with your parents, if you're fortunate enough, and they can be part of that conversation with you. Be open to talking to them. I'm teaching my mom every day. I'm teaching my mom every day about the community, and she's learning. And you have to be willing to talk about it. And
you know what I like, Daniel, that you're one of the few people that have said that, is that we need to sometimes go in understanding the other person. And it's right, at 45 or at 50, can we change their view? Maybe not right away, not in that 2 seconds that we say something. And if we, I know it's an emotional phase for that person going through it, but I think if we take that going into the conversation, we know a little bit what to expect, and to kind of have the patience. And every day you're teaching people, right? Yeah. As a community, you guys are learning and growing yourselves.
Exactly. And a quick example is, my mom didn't know what being gay meant.
Okay.
She had no idea what it was to be gay or lesbian until she moved to Canada. So that's just an example of how much education sometimes your parents need about the situation. She gave birth to a child and she suddenly doesn't understand him. You know, so you have to be patient, and I think patience is key.
And so when you told your sister, was she the most understanding?
Oh, she was so happy.
Aww.
Why wouldn't you want a gay brother? Like, seriously.
He's so cool.
She looks amazing. Her hair is always on point. She's always wearing the right lipstick color. Like,
Daniel, is my lipstick color okay?
It's
You
amazing.
didn't approve it.
It's
Okay, I just want to
amazing.
make sure. 'Cause, like, you know,
But she was cool, you know, but she grew up with the dialogue all around her. It's normal for my sister, you know? And I think she's cool in her friend crowd, too, because she's got a gay brother.
Yeah, it's like I've got the cool
Yeah.
gay brother who's like a famous media personality. No big deal at all. Okay. Do you guys have any specific questions for Daniel before I get into my surprise question for him?
Yeah, I had one. So for a teen who wants to come out to their family, we've talked a lot about, you know, coming out to a family member. After you come out to your family, is it just like smooth sailing from there, or is there the whole other struggle of now I need to come out to my friends, my coworkers, and everyone else?
I think that struggle does definitely continue. You know, coming out to your family is something you're going to do for the rest of your life. You know, every time someone asks me about my sexuality, it's kind of like coming out all over again. When you have to answer those questions, it puts you back in that space and you have to work through it. So it is a struggle. And I think if you're willing to go through that struggle, you'll be good. But I think if you surround yourself with the right people, it's awesome.
Daniel, do you ever think we'll come to a point where this won't even be, in a way, a discussion? Because it's like,
I hope
you're
so.
straight, you're gay. You're like,
so.
why is it, like, you know, can we come to that point that, okay, my kid is born, okay, you like men, that's fine. You like women, okay, you like each other. Like, do you think we'll get there eventually? Because I'd really like
hope
to see it,
so.
at least in my lifetime.
I really hope so. And
Okay.
in my lifetime, I hope I
Yeah.
get to see that, you know, especially with these millennials right now. I know
Yeah.
I'm a millennial, but
You
the
are.
younger
You're a
end,
young
the
Gen
young-
X, Y, Z, whatever they call them
The
now,
younger
you're
end of the millennials, they are just so savvy and accepting, and they come to the table with so much knowledge. And by the time they start popping out kids, I hope that this isn't an issue. I really do. Like when I'm a granddad, and I will be, I hope to be in that generation that, you know, we're just accepting and we just accept everybody for who they are.
Yeah, I think if I can have one wish for my lifetime, it would be to have this just be normal. I just don't like the fact that it's like a community, a
Yeah.
separation. It bothers me. So on a more lighter note, Daniel,
Yes.
we're going to take a few seconds to talk to you about, you have a new web series
Yes.
coming out, Date with Daniel.
Yes.
So for a lot of people I know, and that a lot of people were really excited to have you on our show. You've hosted some big celebrities. You've spoken to people like Frida Pinto, you've spoken to Shah Rukh Khan, Priyanka Chopra, you know, all these big names. Now you're sitting down. What is Date with Daniel about?
So, Date with Daniel is the world's opportunity to have a date with me.
Okay.
Okay, because everybody needs a date with me.
Okay.
And, you know, it really came at a moment in my life where I feel very confident to be who I am. And
Okay.
I'm so confident in my self-expression. So, having this conversation here today, I've been doing this for many, many, many years. And I'm finally at a point where I feel amazing and I want to talk to people the way I want to talk to them. And I want to find out about what makes them tick. I want to
Okay.
talk about their sexuality. I want
Okay.
to talk about their experiences. And I want to do it my way. And that's coming at a point where I feel very confident in being gay and being South Asian at the same time. And so the show was really born out of that.
Okay, so it's come out at a right time in your life, I guess
Absolutely.
you could say. When is the launch date?
It is June 23rd.
I'm very
That's
excited
next week.
because I'm tuning into it. So we're
Yes.
going to have Date with Daniel's web and social media info on our webpage for everybody to check out and watch. So how do you select, what kind of guests are you going to have? Is it people from sort of only fashion, only for business? Is it from, like, is there sort of a category you've selected?
Anybody with a story.
Anyone fab?
Anyone's, you know, fabulous.
With a story.
Fabulosity is a term I use for anybody with a story. You know,
Okay.
if you've got something interesting to talk about, I want to hear it.
Okay.
Whether it's about fashion, whether it's about your new channel, it could be about your shoes, it could be about what you ate in the morning. If you've got something interesting to say, I want to provide that platform.
Okay, and
Yeah.
when did you get into wanting to be in media?
You know what? I actually didn't want to be in media.
What did you want to be?
I was studying to be in public relations.
Okay.
And I kind of ended up there for a few years. And then, you know, this industry literally called me. And the
I could
opportunity
see why.
presented itself,
I could
and
see why.
I stepped into it, and it's been a whirlwind. But it's been good.
Okay, so do you
Yeah.
think you'd ever go into fashion styling or fashion web series?
That's a lot of
because you're so
pressure.
fabulous. Do you think you would do it?
You know, being fabulous is very hard.
I know.
You
So do you think you would share your fabulousness with all of us?
You know what? The fabulousness comes from just being who I am.
Okay.
It really does. That's the biggest style statement you can have. It's just
So
to
it's
be
not
who
an
you
act.
are.
It's not a pretense that you put on when you, okay, I'm, you know, rolling tape. I'm going to act this way. This is how Daniel is on and off.
Yes, and
Okay.
really, you ask all my friends,
Okay.
I'm like this when I wake up in the morning. And you know, if I'm in a good mood, I'm like this before bedtime too. You
I
know?
want to
So-
see Daniel on an off day. Like, I don't know. Do you have an off day?
I do.
Okay. Is
I
it
do.
bad?
It's very dramatic.
Okay.
It can be very dramatic.
Okay,
yes.
not a problem. Well, I'm very, very excited to have had you on the show, especially with everything
Thank
that went
you.
on this week, to talk about something so important and close to you. Thank you for coming.
Thank
We
you.
wish him all the best for Date with Daniel. Thank you for watching, everyone.